Welcome to Horror Makes Us Happy, the podcast where we ask the question, what is it about horror that makes us happy? Your hosts are Steve Becker and myself, Chris Whitman, and you can find out more about us at our website, horrormakesushappy.com. Before we get started, this is the trigger warning. It's the very next thing we do after mentioning the very hard-to-remember URL. This is a horror podcast. We talk about horror things. We can't really divulge exactly what's going to be in there, like a Netflix disclaimer or something. I don't know. There likely will be foul language. There may be discussion of things like physical abuse, child abuse, R-word, F-bombs.
Who knows?
We don't know what's going to happen. But it's not all dark. It's actually more of a psychology podcast about delving into the actual interest in horror, what it is we like about horror, what about horror makes us happy. That's the name of the show.
Funny,
but we could delve into such dark subjects, so we do have to do the disclaimer. But with that out of the way, Steve, what do we have coming up? It's been forever.
Oh, let's see. Holidays, mostly. I just went to Scarefest yesterday, and boy, are my arms tired. Yeah. Or my feet tired. We are still doing listen parties and drawing parties and movie watching on our Discord server. There's a link to that on our homepage. There's also a Linktree link on our front page to all of our socials, links to Patreon and buy us a coffee, all that kind of fun stuff. Maybe we should start off with the the liking and sharing and subscribing, since I always do that at the end, and you know how that works.
That is the simplest one. Doesn't cost you anything. Just do it.
Yes.
Please.
By the way, there's also a new feature on Patreon. A lot of people might not know that you can actually, there's a free tier on Patreon. So you can subscribe to people on Patreon and just, follow that way.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Today we are talking to author Jessica McHugh, best known for The Green Kangaroos, The Train Derails in Boston, and Quiet Ways I Destroy You. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm really
Our pleasure.
Just jazzed to be here and talk about all the happiness that horror brings me.
That's right. All right. Well, let's see. It's been a little while since I sent you any information on what it is we do. And we met a year and a half ago. So it's been a little while. So the general gist of things is, instead of talking about your body of work, we will talk about your love of the genre from childhood through adulthood. And then towards the end, to talk about any common themes that keep cropping up and how those intersect with the genre. But that said, this isn't meant to be a therapy session. So if there's any questions you don't want to answer, just say pass and we'll move on. But starting with childhood, what are some of your earliest memories about scary things?
I was always reading just random collections of ghost stories and campfire stories. I remember in second grade, we were in the portables, and once you finished your assignment, there was a basket full of books, go grab a book and quiet time, reading time while everyone finishes. Yep. And I would always go for just these weird collections of stories, classic things the snipe hunt and the green ribbon and, all those kind of things. And I just loved them so much. Scary stories that tell in the dark. Yeah, there was something about it that I just really loved, even though it really did terrify me. I could not look at some of the pictures and scary stories to tell in the dark, the red spot to this day.
Mm-hmm. The images really were haunting.
So uncomfortable. It's just so funny because if you go back and read those books now, they're really not very well written.
No, the stories themselves are not very scary at all. It's the imagery.
Yeah. But, I loved... I feel like there was always some different version of there was the big toe, there was Taily Poe, it's always some dude stealing something they're not supposed to. And then the creature coming back for it and just doing something where's my toe, Taily Poe? And I just loved that stuff. And I loved it when people would read it aloud, in class and stuff.
Yeah, the funny thing is, looking back, like you say, it doesn't seem to be well written, but when you're that young, you've got no other experience, so you don't know what's coming up. So,
exactly.
Everything is extremely foreshadowed to an adult, but to a kid, you're like, I don't know what's coming.
Yeah, I loved all of those, and I would just read them nonstop. And as I got older, I actually I skipped over Goosebumps. It just wasn't on my radar at all. I went straight to Fear Street. And I was obsessed with R.L. Stine's Fear Street. Obsessed.
Okay. For Goosebumps or Fear Street? I didn't think there was one.
They made. Well, it's like a. I don't know if it's a show. Really, it's like a series of films dated.
Oh,
in
like
years.
I really liked those. Yeah, they're not really all that connected to the books in any way, except for the take place in Shady Side. But I really love the books. There's one called Halloween Party that's my favorite. That is just so bonkers. Like I'm like 10 or 11 reading this, and it like ends with the villain who is like a teenage girl, like drugging, gassing all of her friends, tying them up in the dining room and making them listen to car crashes, people dying in car crashes.
They should start using that for driver's ed instead.
It's twisted. And then the house is set on fire. It's absolutely insane. Like R.L. Stine is just brilliant. I love him so much.
I can't help but wonder if Ari Aster got a little bit of an inspiration from that for the beginning of Midsommar.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. There are so many that are just incredibly just.
And the girl
gasses
her family and ties them up. I don't know why. It just reminds me of that.
It's it's wacky. So yeah, I just gravitated towards those. I watched lots of scary movies too. There was like a Saturday horror matinee.
Yes. I love that every like locale in America had those.
Yeah.
We all had the Saturday afternoon horror show.
It was horror and then followed by kung fu movies.
Yeah.
So,
right. Yes.
I started out watching them with my brothers, probably. And I had two older brothers. So I very much wanted them to think I was cool. So I definitely glommed on to what they were watching, but then eventually I just started watching it on my own, and I would have to click away a lot. Like Nightmare on Elm Street really got me. Freddy terrified me. So
fun fact, I wasn't allowed to watch Nightmare on Elm Street because I grew up on Elm Street.
She
thought it would give us nightmares.
My parents didn't. They were pretty inconsistent about what they allowed me to watch. It didn't make a whole lot of sense going forward. Like as I got older, they didn't care about any of that. But then they put a lock on Nickelodeon.
What?
Because they thought I was too old to be watching Nickelodeon.
So it wasn't like put a lock on the things that are too adult or
right. Yeah, there was a lock on
PG-13 for you. There was a lock on
that
the other direction.
Yes.
That MTV. And it was just crazy because it made me be sneakier because like I bought the code from my brother, who had like so I just unlocked it all the time.
Nice. What'd you like about the red spot?
I mean, I'm just scared of spiders in general, or just anything laying eggs in me.
Oh,
just comforting thought,
anything. No, I think it's just simple and effective body horror.
So
you wake up.
How did you feel when you found out that you had eggs in you?
I know, I'm not happy about it. I have gone my entire life trying to keep them just eggs.
I'm just picturing the conversation between the parents, like, "Mom, this irrational fear. There's eggs in me.
There's eggs in me.
Honey, we're gonna have that talk later, but we'll have that talk later."
But I think it's just, it's really effective body horror because I mean everybody wakes up with a red spot on their face at some time in their life. And it could, it just could be a pimple. It could be anything. And then like all of a sudden it just opens up and spiders pour out of you.
Right. Yeah.
So it's horrifying. And I believe it happens in the shower too. So that really made me scared of the shower after I read it.
Ruined showers for everyone forever.
You're right.
Yeah, along with arachnophobia because there were spiders coming out of the shower.
Yeah, thank you. I forgot about that scene.
So
never close your eyes in the shower. Never.
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny because, horror brings me so much joy, but I literally am scared of everything.
Well, it's part of the show, like that's kind of what we get to is like, what exactly is it that people enjoy about that fear or that adrenaline rush?
Yeah, it's so funny because like I also, my biggest kind of body horror thing in real life is like face stuff. So going back to like the red spot. So if anything, like the scene in The Matrix where Neo doesn't have a mouth, like that really disturbs me. Like,
ooh, how about the bathroom scene in the Poltergeist where the guy rips his face off?
Oh my God. Right? Yeah, no, that, like The Fly, like, like.
Yeah, I mean, it gets to the root of what body horror really is, I think, which is, that invasive personal space invaded, and your face is one of the most vulnerable parts of your body. So, anything involving pain to the face is very visceral. Like, I think that's why Terrifier went with it so many times, where he just like deconstructs someo's face with his bare hands.
Oh, okay. I'm not going to watch that then. Cool.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good spoiler warning.
Yeah. That is. Yeah, thanks, I'm at the point now that I have to look up. I have to go to the dog die?
Right, like does the face get disfigured.com?
Yeah.
Let's see. Did you participate in Halloween?
Oh yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. Absolutely. When I was a kid, my mom made most of my costumes, so I had to be the same thing several years in a row, a lot. Which was really great because, like, I think when I was, like, 11, she made me this, like, Elvira dress. And as I got older, it just got tighter and sexier. And there came a point where she's like, you can't wear this dress anymore.
Yeah, right?
But, Mom, you made it for me. I love this dress. It's so nice.
It was so great. I loved it so much. I had a big, like, bat belt. Like, it was so rad. And then, of course, as I got older, like all my costumes became coolness detectors, just something really like random where no one would know who I was. And I'm like, of course, I'm Elaine Bennis, Did
you do the dance?
Yeah, of course. I even carried around today's sponges and handed them out.
Maybe like one square of toilet paper. I'm sorry, it's my last square. I can't spare it.
Yeah.
Did you have any really scary dreams or reoccurring nightmares as a kid?
I used to have a lot of dreams where like I'm in a house or a building that's crumbling beneath me. Which definitely feels like an anxiety dream.
Yeah. I would think that would fall under anxiety.
But what's really fun is like whenever that happens, like it's really scary at first, but then once it starts happening, I'm like surfing it. So it starts like becoming kind of fun. I used to have this dream when I was a kid where we would be somewhere, and I don't know why everyone was out so late, but all of a sudden, like clocks would start going off, and everyone would be like, "Oh my God, it's time! We have to get home!" Like everyone would be hurried. I don't know why they would cut it so close, knowing that this is a thing that happens every night.
Were you in this dream in a town where every time you try and drive out of the town and escape, you just drive right back into the town? And you got there because there was a tree in the road, and there's a guy named Boyd who rings a bell every night.
Oh my God.
Strangely specific.
It's the show from. It's really good.
Yeah. This was just like wolves. Wolves would just come. And I would just remember us being like holding back the door as they're trying to beat them down. And I'm like, that was a weird reoccurring one that I had.
I wonder, what is the psychological dissection of that dream? Impending danger and holding back a barrier.
Wolf.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I haven't had it in a long time though, but I wrote a short story based on it. So maybe that got rid of it.
Maybe. I like the thing about the house crumbling beneath you and then you start surfing it.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Having met you, that is very much your style.
That's probably the nicest compliment I've ever gotten.
Yeah, I could picture that in one of your Instagram videos.
I did have a really great zombie dream not too long ago, which it was very scary because, I mean, it was a zombie dream. So, but it got to a point where we were on the other side. It was me and a group of people, and we had to get to the other side of this gym that was just filled with shambling zombies. And we actually did the pretend to be a zombie thing.
Oh, nice. Did you wear the skin
And
too,
it
or
was
just?
the funniest thing I have probably ever experienced in a dream. And like, because one zombie kept like, he was like,
Checking you out.
and he was like trying to like communicate with me. I'm like, trying to like nudge him away.
Oh, some classic
hilarious.
Scooby-Doo shit. Like when you're sneaking into the enemy base and one of them catches you, like, "Hey, did you enjoy the lunch today?" In zombie form, though.
It was so funny, and I was just like, after I got to the end, I was like in the dream, being like, "That was good."
Nice.
For me, the zombie mid-turn trying to talk to you is more like nightmares about being hit on.
Yeah, no, it felt like that. It was so funny. Like it literally felt like I was watching like a movie that was going on, and it was so perfectly timed and everything. It was
So
great.
you brain here often?
Yeah. Those zombie boys only want one thing,
And it's disgusting.
it's brains.
God.
Well, I wrote a one-act play that was performed once, and it's about a girl bringing her zombie boyfriend home to meet like her conservative parents, and all he does is like just grunt and stuff like that. So,
Was there ever a time in your childhood when you were terrified of something in real life?
my brother was pretty scary at times. My brother definitely was something of a bully to me in for years.
As you do.
Yeah, and it was scary a lot of times, especially when we went to the same school, because not scary in the way sometimes he would get like angry and physical, but mostly it was just socially, he could embarrass me really, really easily in front of a lot of people.
Yeah.
And he had the power to do that, and that was very scary for me. Which is funny because I've probably written most about my brother Eric in my work, which is just so interesting to me. Not that my brother Jeff isn't awesome. I mean, my brother Jeff is awesome, pretty much. So my oldest brother. So I guess he didn't, and he was 4 years older than me, so we didn't have a whole lot of interaction and whatnot. But my middle brother was only 2 years older than me, and we were always around each other. And I don't think that I was pretty annoying. I played make-believe a lot. I sang a lot. I danced. I was loud, still am. I still do all of these things.
Yes.
But I was, I knew who I was pretty much. And I did not feel like I had to change that. And I think he resented that a lot because, this was also like the 80s and 90s where a lot of mental health was not so much something that we paid a lot of attention to.
Unless you're Michael Myers, but yeah.
Yeah. And my brother had a lot of anxiety issues and, more that went undiagnosed. And, and he dealt with it with addiction, and then that became a big thing. So it's that definitely cast a dark cloud over my childhood. And, as a writer and as an artist, I hesitate the good stuff, but it's definitely fertile
Life
ground.
Experience.
Yeah. So I definitely use horror to cope back then and still now with a lot of that stuff. I think, like I said, Green Kangaroos is very much inspired by my brother, as is Strange Nests and, more things beside. So that pretty much, that and just, adults in general scared me. I was scared of getting in trouble. I was very scared of getting in trouble, and I caused a lot of trouble. So,
well, it's funny because when you said, like my oldest brother was cool, I immediately picked up on, okay, so there was the middle brother, there was the trouble, which is not uncommon. Middle kids are, they're stuck. They're neither the first nor the baby anymore.
Yeah.
And also, like you say, there's only 2 years difference. There's been a lot of studies that have at least claimed that it's better to have like a 4-year gap between the kids, because then their developmental stages are different enough that they're not competing quite as much. So there's some of that too. And
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why the Green Kangaroos is called the Green Kangaroos. There's a book called by Judy Blume called The One in the Middle is the Green Kangaroo.
Okay. I was going to ask, are the kangaroos aliens? Like,
the kangaroos are the lost children, the lost middle children.
Okay.
So flipping that last question around, was there ever a time in your childhood when you felt exceptionally calm or safe or bliss?
Oof. After jerking off? I don't know. I'm literally the only thing I can think of.
I don't believe we've ever gotten that answer.
Not for childhood. Maybe later in the call when we talk about the teen years.
We are still in childhood here.
I mean, you got to find comfort where you can as soon as you can.
Jesus.
There's
that disclaimer getting its use.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, probably when I was reading,
Okay.
Just when I was reading anything, I read a whole lot.
Save.
Yes.
I read, I read across many genres, and except for like romance. I never read a lot of romance or like kind of cute love stories.
Surprising, given the first answer.
Yeah, yeah, right. I make my own love story.
That was just too easy. So the next 2 questions are also a pair. I'm going to start with a negative one so we can end on the positive. Do you remember the first person you hurt?
Shit. Yeah.
Well, these are loaded one.
You don't have to talk about it.
Yeah, pass is still an option.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely went through a shoplifting phase.
Okay.
And like just kind of like taking things.
Mm-hmm.
And I would always put them back, but like and to this day I don't really know why that is. I think maybe attention seeking, or I don't know, the thrill of it. I have no idea. I like took something from a friend of mine, and when it was discovered,
that's not shoplifting.
It's not shoplifting.
I get it. You lead in with the shoplifting because that's your
shoplifting
excuse.
and taking things. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I took a necklace or something from a friend of mine during a sleepover. And when it was discovered that I did that, obviously it was a big thing. And our friendship was never the same. We're on Facebook and friends now and stuff like that. But it definitely like changed things, and it was it was a bummer, and it definitely it hurt her feelings, and then it hurt both of us, really.
Yeah. It's not uncommon for kids to do that as part of their development process. I mean, the whole thing about our frontal cortex is not being fully developed, and learning through experience. I know that I also had a bit of a shoplifting phase in my childhood, and also taking things that I wasn't supposed to take. But
I just figured I was a dick.
It's a whole conversation. There are a lot of different reasons to do it. But, the whole point is that as an adult, hopefully you grow out of that, which not everyone does. But again, that's a whole other topic.
True. Very true.
So, as I said, flipping that question around, the opposite. Do you remember the first person you helped?
I definitely remember in kindergarten we were making, they were like wooden something. I remember I made a horse. But I don't remember how we were putting them together because they wouldn't have let us like nail stuff. I have no idea. Might have just been glued, but something happened when my friend Tim, he was making his, and something like the leg broke off or something, and he got really upset, and I took the leg off of mine and I put it on his.
Aww.
And then he still had it like years later. It was really cute.
Yeah.
Then you had to put your wooden horse down.
And I had a 3-legged horse from that point on. I was fine with it.
Oh man!
We take a heartfelt moment and just turn it into a glue commercial.
I know, right? His name was Boxer, and I loved him. No.
Moving into teen years, what media jumps out to you from your teen years?
Yeah, definitely. Are You Afraid of the Dark? Twilight Zone. I watched a lot of. Yeah, at that time I was watching just like pretty much. I watched a lot of Tarantino in high school.
Okay,
that's not really horror, but I mean, it has horrifying things in it.
Yeah.
But
okay, here's the real question: at what age had you watched Four Rooms?
Oh man, I saw it as soon as it came on tape.
Nice.
I mean, I fucking love Four Rooms so much.
What was I watching recently that I actually recognized the actress? She was from The Other Man, the segment with Antonio Banderas and the wife.
Oh, what's her face? Jennifer Beals?
Yeah. And she was in something I saw recently. Something new. She's just got that unmistakable, smarmy, I'm a bitch and I'm better than you voice. Like, I know you. You're from Four Rooms.
Mm-hmm. Such a great movie. And then the last segment being based off of a Roald Dahl short story, which
really?
I'm just I mean, they mention it as based on Man of the South. I think a Hitchcock, they said in the movie, but that is based off of Man from the South is a Roald Dahl short story, which I am like obsessed with Roald Dahl's short stories because they're just so twisted.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of what I read a lot of those in when I was a teenager.
I assume you're referring to the scene with the lighter and
the lighter.
Yeah.
Yep. Which, I mean, the end of that story is just so great. I highly recommend if you haven't read any Roald Dahl like short story collections. So good.
How old were you when you saw that? The Four Rooms?
4 Rooms? Probably would have been 15.
Okay.
Maybe?
So, yeah, definitely teen.
Yeah. 15.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I watched a lot of those pretty much. If it was transgressive in any way, I was probably trying to watch it because I wanted to be a director in high school. Weirdly, and then I was like, that's way too much work. I got the filmmaking book, Spike, Mike, Slackers, and Dykes, which is like all about Spike Lee and Kevin Smith and like all this kind of stuff. And then I was reading through it, and I was no. No, I am way too lazy. No. But the writing part I could get on board with because writing, while not lazy work, feels passive as far as like, I don't have to like, I only have to direct imaginary people. Like, I don't have to worry about them getting angry at me or anything like that. I can just kind of sit and daydream.
I was just going to say the timeline is a little more loose because there aren't other people actually waiting on you.
Yeah, exactly. I was just like, nah, well, I think I'm good.
Did you have a favorite episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yes. It is, The Tale of Tale of the 13th Floor.
Okay.
It's a sci-fi one, but I mean, it's definitely has a creepy ending. I have a lot of favorites. My favorites are any of the Betty Ann episodes. Her stories always end where it's like, oh, that was nice, and then it's like, but what about this fucked up thing?
Monkey paw.
So if it's a Betty Ann episode, I'm down.
What'd you like about the 13th Floor?
I like that. I like the kind of the ending. The stinger at the ending is just kind of really creepy, where it's just like there's a toy store or like it's supposed to be like this place filled with toys on the 13th floor, and these people are just like, oh, we're testing out new toys for our new toy company. Do you kids want to, help us test them out? And it's like a brother and sister, but the sister is adopted. And that's definitely a thing that is a through line of the whole thing. So they're testing out the toys, and gradually the boy starts to get like really lethargic and he can't really do much. And the girl is figuring out that she's skilled at all of this stuff. And they finally figure it's like, oh my God, it's aliens. They're trying to kidnap us and take us to their planet and blah, blah, blah. And so they, beat him up and they escape. And then at the end, it's just like one of the aliens like faces pops up and it's just like, we weren't trying to hurt you. We accidentally left you here 13 years ago. Oh, no. This was your rescue mission. Like, we were coming to get you. Now we can't come back for like another 13 years. And then at the end, her face is all like dissolved and she looks like one of the aliens. Like, it's really like, it's just really, I got goosebumps describing it. I love it so much.
That is interesting.
Yeah, it's just like a really great episode. And any of the Betty Anns are kind of like that, where it kind of gets you at the end.
Mm-hmm. I like those twists. M. Night, if you're listening, this is the good kind of twist. Where in the end, it's something that you feared and you ran away from, but the whole time it was just trying to help you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Has he done that in any of his? I don't think he has. No, he just likes the subversion of expectations in terrible ways and terrible writing and dialogue. Anywho.
There you have
we'll never have him on the show.
Oh. Yeah, I'm okay with this.
Insert himself anyway.
Yeah, right.
Did you have a favorite Twilight Zone episode?
Oh yeah, I love Nick of Time with William Shatner and the devil napkin holder.
Devil napkin. Oh, I have so many questions.
He plays a character named Nick who's very superstitious, and their car breaks down and they stop at him and his wife stop at a diner, and there's this napkin holder with like a little devil head on it, and it tells you your fortune.
I vaguely recall
giving him all these fortunes and that are like seemingly influencing what's going on, and he just starts going like crazier and crazier kind of with it. But
okay, that story sounds awesome, but it's still it sounds like a creative writing assignment. Like, pick an object that is within 3 feet of you and you have to make a horror story about this. Fucking napkin holder.
I would love one. Like, I just got to make one because it's I love that one. There are so many I like. I really like the one, is it just the masks? The ones where the rich families' faces turn into their masks.
I can picture it in my head, but I don't remember the story.
Is it the one where they're piggies underneath the masks?
No, it's one where it's like a rich family and they're all like selfish and terrible, and like the patriarch or whatever is leaving them all this money, but first they have to like get through the night with these like ugly masks on that reflect who they are on the inside. Okay. And then they become the masks, turn into the masks.
Yeah, nice.
Ooh, and the mannequin one, as far as one that isn't really creepy, but just really sweet, the one where the mannequins in the department store get one night basically to come to life and like live as a human, but they don't realize it until it's time to go. So the girl's just like walking around and like, what's happening? And she's scared of all the mannequins because she doesn't realize she is one.
Aww.
It's just a sweet one.
Yeah, sweet, and still a Twilight Zone twist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Was there ever a time in your life when you were actually terrified of something in real life as a teen?
Trying to think. I mean, yes, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah. If nothing pops to mind, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
it doesn't have to be life-threatening. I mean, we are talking about teens, like social anxiety can be terrifying.
I performed a lot, so that was always nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And like, of course, like tests and that kind of stuff.
Were you a theater kid?
I was a theater kid. I was also a show choir kid.
Okay.
Double whammy. So I did a lot of performances. When I was 16, I was the lead in the musical. So that was a lot. I was Audrey in Little Shop of Horrors. And plus I had gotten mono. So I couldn't practice the kiss until like the week before.
Nice.
And I had to watch my spleen because apparently mono does something to your spleen. And in Little Shop of Horrors, when you do it on the stage, when you get eaten by the plant, you have to crawl out the back of the plant. And it's like a very, very narrow space. And yeah, I was like, my spleen.
Who's that from? Did Invader Zim? There's definitely some animated series where someone's like, my spleen!
My spleen! Maybe they saw me perform.
Maybe.
So flipping that question around, yeah, actually, it's, well, I was going to say, yeah, I was going to ask, flipping that question around, was there ever a time in your teens when you felt exceptionally calm or safe or at bliss, but that may have also been performing, so.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, because I say it all the time, I loved that show Glee, well, to a point. But, Rachel Berry says at one point, I'm like Tinkerbell, I need applause to live. And I definitely, I enjoyed a lot about that, about performing. I especially loved, show choir, which we competed, and that was always really exciting. I got to perform at Carnegie Hall in a competition. So it was, I loved all of that. And yeah, I wish I could, the closest I get these days are my little dance videos, but.
TikTok.
I never thought about that. Tinkerbell is an allegory for acting.
Yeah.
She needs applause to live.
Yes. Let's see. Rolling into adulthood. Now that you've become an adult, what are some of your favorite horror media as an adult?
I should have probably mentioned in childhood Stephen King. I read that super early. But I was reading a lot of King. This adulthood, like in my probably like 19 through early 20s, I was reading a lot of Lovecraft.
Yeah.
A lot of just kind of like collections of different like horror writers. I read a lot of that's when I was reading a lot of Philip K. Dick, as far as just weird sci-fi. And
yeah, I think Philip K. Dick can be kind of considered horror, like sci-fi horror.
And trying to think, because this is, when I was 19, 20, I worked at a perfume kiosk in a mall. And it's basically when I started writing, because I would work for 11 hours a day. And there aren't that many people that buy perfume, like if it's not the holidays. So I would just sit there and read. And there was a Walden Books just right down the way. So I would basically go pick up a new book every day.
Oh, wow.
So I was reading just everything and all over the place. Like within months, I'd read every Roald Dahl short story collection. I read the entire Silmarillion. And then,
wow.
And then I read the entire Anne Rice Vampire Chronicles. So I was just like, and then I started writing. Like, again, I wrote all through childhood and everything like that. But this is when I really started trying to write short stories and novels. And I was everything sounded like Anne Rice meets Lovecraft. And oh my God, it is atrocious. Like, but yeah, I was reading
Lovecraft sounds like it could be a good combination.
I mean, it was so purple prose. And so every story was, I went somewhere, I saw something crazy, now I'm crazy, which is Lovecraft.
Right.
It's Lovecraft, yeah.
So it's, everything is kind of bizarre, but I mean, that's how I started out, really just kind of finding my own voice within those.
Yes. Right.
So that was, Lovecraft and Anne Rice were a huge influence in my early 20s. And then as I got, into my mid 20s, I was reading writers I knew. I started reading a lot more like small press and indie stuff, because I had gotten published and met people and hadn't read their work and just became familiar with them. I was reading like in my mid to late 20s, definitely Arnzen and John Edward Lawson and Skip and Spencer and all these people that I kind of hadn't noticed, because I was just reading kind of the big names
right
when I was younger. So it was like a really good introduction to like real horror for me. It almost felt like, my God, I was missing out on like the really good gritty stuff all my life.
Brought you up to speed.
And I did have like a lot of kind of horror magazines and comics that I had gotten from like the used bookstore and that I gotten from my brothers and stuff like that like, for some reason, it just didn't, I always just kept going back to like King, which was so silly. But maybe I just wasn't mature enough maybe to grasp a lot of the darker, grittier stuff. Not to say that Stephen King isn't dark and gritty, because it, it certainly is.
Yeah.
But for some reason, that was more digestible to me when I was younger. I don't know why. Maybe because I also thought it was very dirty and thrilling.
Yeah. It's got that allure to it.
Yeah.
No, I can definitely identify with part of that. Yeah, because like I'd recently gotten more into the horror culture and the horror circuit and things like trying to write a script for a movie or developing my webcomic now, and I like got into meeting all of the indie horror people, and making those connections. I found myself watching and viewing more of their content, because it's like this whole other world opens up,
It's amazing. Like it's frustrating, especially when you see, someone remaking the same thing over and over and over again, the same story, but there really are like the coolest stories out there just waiting to hit a wider audience.
I don't want another reboot of a Teens in the Woods slasher. Let's watch a fucking crazy, I think it was Russian indie film about a man suffering from an addiction to crocodile and rotting away.
Oh my God.
That's a fucked up movie.
Isn't that the name of the movie, Crocodile?
Yeah, it was Red Crocodile. Guy hallucinates while, dosing up on crocodile for days and just falling apart, literally.
Ugh, beautiful.
Yeah. Right? It's a love story.
Yes.
Coming of age. Let's go back to Lovecraft for a minute, kind of go down the line. So any particular story of his that jumped out to you?
I really like Shadow over Innsmouth. Obviously it has issues contextually, but I the first time I read that, I just felt like it was so evocative. Like you can smell it when you're reading it. Like you can hear every like squelch, and I really loved that one a lot.
He's very
Reanimator,
colorful with
his always did.
I just watched Reanimator the other night. It's a classic. It's the anniversary.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely enamored of the breadth of like the elder gods and the old ones, and like all these kind of other beings is what I really liked about that. Not even so much like Cthulhu or anything like that, just like these random just beings that are from some other, not planet, but
right.
The incomprehensible.
Yeah, the incomprehensible. Yeah. I just thought it was it, and I have so many of those short stories from back then, like things like Lezeneth and We Must Go to Amaryllis and like find the Tower of oh my God.
It was fun at the time.
Yeah, I think there's one from that time that I did have published, and it was called A Ride in the Dream Machine, and it's like it's just very, very bizarre, but I think that was the only one from that time when I first started writing short stories that has been published, and that's probably a good thing.
As you were saying earlier, finding your voice.
Yeah. Important.
Yes. Let's see. Anne Rice, what'd you like about I mean, you mentioned the Vampire Chronicles, but you also mentioned that she and Lovecraft were like top tier in terms of your initial influences. What did you like about her stuff?
I mean, it's just so evocative. I like the Mayfair Witches series a little bit more than Vampire Chronicles, but just because like when she gets into like her fictional histories, she really makes it feel real. Just so much confidence in it. And she did a lot of research and, twisted legends and stuff to, her bidding, which I just found so magical during that time. And it's funny now because the new adaptation of Vampire Chronicles is amazing. But I like it way more than the Mayfair Witches one.
Okay.
But I loved Vampire Chronicles to a point, there's definitely a point where I'm like, I don't even care anymore, like about Armand. Like, come on. They're long.
Yes.
But I really, the dedication, the sheer, the continuity, the passion that is in all of those books is palpable. And, they sucked me in at that time and made me want to do that, to be able to do that. Whether I have, I'm not sure at this point, but.
Well, you're at StokerCon. I'd say you succeeded.
Yeah.
Right?
So we already talked about scary dreams. You had the zombie stuff. Did you have you had anything in real life terrify you as an adult?
Yeah.
Yeah, this like question over the last couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah, there have been some things. It's just it's like that meme when they write the history books in 20 years, like, pretty much from 2015 to 2025, we're gonna skip that because that's a whole school year.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot that terrifies me now.
Not without good reason.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I think just like the natural state of my life now is pretty much a low-grade panic attack all the time. There's just so much, and especially because we just moved a week ago. That was like just hell because we had 2 weeks to do it in basically. And where it's like a thing where no one told me that when you grow up, like the person who is in charge of the building where you and a whole bunch of other people live can just be like, nah,
okay, go.
You gotta go. We want to charge like $500 more for this. Sorry about the 10 families. It's just wacky to me that when I was teenager, I was scared. Oh, I'm going to go on stage and I'm going to have like a frog in my throat. And now I'm just like, someone buy food. Help me. And then of course, just everything that's going on politically is the worst. Yeah. So yeah, it's a rough time all around, but I try to stay on the sunny.
Yes.
There you go.
Chris and I have said in private conversation many times that we are tired of living in interesting times.
Yeah.
Just please, can we have some nice calm years?
I just want things to be boring and chill for a second, but there's always something.
Yeah. I made a terrible joke the other day about wanting to print hats that say "Make times boring again."
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yes, please. That would be nice.
Yeah. So again, flipping that question around, has there ever been a time in your adult life when you felt exceptionally calm or safe or bliss?
Yeah, I mean, I feel that way most of the time when it's just me and my husband hanging out, and our cats and stuff like that. Just we're just watching Frasier for the millionth time, or Cheers, something like that, and just. Maybe I've got like, a little story that I'm jotting down or something like that. But yeah, nothing too strenuous. Like I do have those moments a lot, which, that's the reason I think, it's easier to stay on the sunny side when it's just like, well, I'm trying to, I have a lot. I have a lot of support. I got to make art.
Yeah.
Like, my day job, I'm surrounded by art. Like as far as, I'm poor as fuck, but, I have no bodily autonomy. Like people are dying all over the place. But, I do believe myself to be very fortunate for what I have. And, that brings me a lot of calm and a lot of peace. And even during the times when it's rough, it's just like there will be calm again. There will be peace again. That's what I have to just look forward to and hope for, and hope it comes sooner rather than later.
Right.
Yeah.
I find
like
it good.
Different version of the this too will pass. I heard recently or something like that. Like it was something along the lines of good times will come around again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The good times will roll back around.
Yes.
That's right.
I find it interesting that, if you think about there being a gap between the things that you want and the things that you have, I find it interesting that when I focus on the things that I want, the gap between them seems to grow. But when I focus on the things that I have, the gap between them seems to decrease.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's just so funny. Like, I don't really, like, whenever there's like a gift thing, like Christmas or birthday, people are like, what do you want? I'm like, I really don't want anything.
Peace of mind? I mean,
as an adult,
like, like a 6-pack or, like a gift card to Michael's or,
Yeah.
like, I don't really, need that much, I'm a pretty simple human.
Yeah.
I just want to make art and
it's sad. It's kind of sad to say it, but I mean, as an adult, once you get to that stage, most of the things that we do need, sadly, are just solved by money. So
yeah.
You don't want to say, well, I need money, but other than that, I'm good. Yeah.
But then you have those good friends that you don't really see all the time, but you keep in touch and stuff, and they do just give you a card and money, and you're like, you know what? That's exactly what I needed. Thank you.
That is awesome.
Which is kind of like mutually beneficial because they may feel like kind of a cop out for just giving you money, and then you're like, no, that's
good.
Perfect.
That works.
I'm down.
Like I think is it Jake Gyllenhaal the meme where it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down. I mean, I like gift cards too because it's just like, if you don't feel comfortable giving me just straight up cash or a check,
here's my Venmo.
There are other things like give me a grocery store gift card.
Right.
There you go. That's gold nowadays.
You know what I have gotten into the habit of doing? I actually got this from a friend who used it for other purposes, but we won't go there. I have an Amazon wish list that I add stuff to over the year, and I just share it with friends and family. If you want to get me something for Christmas for my birthday, here you go.
Check the list.
Yeah. There you go.
That works.
Yeah. I'm going to ask this pair of questions again that we asked earlier. Again, it's going to be a pair. Start with the negative so we can end on positive. Do you remember the last person you hurt?
I don't know.
That's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
But that's a win.
I mean, if there was, it was unintentional.
Right.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
Okay.
I mean, I probably kicked Dave in my sleep. Like,
I'll allow it.
Yeah.
That counts. Yeah. I mean, like, for example, my first person I heard was I fell on a girl and I was in preschool and I broke the collarbone. It's unintentional.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you remember the last person you helped?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Dave.
Yeah, no,
Dave again.
I work front desk at a tattoo shop. So,
okay.
And one of my coworkers just got COVID, so I had to reschedule all of her appointments. I mean,
that definitely counts. That is very helpful. It was very nice.
But I always feel like that's why I love working the tattoo shop, because tattoos are, there are lots of different reasons people get them, and for a lot of people, they are healing and stuff like that, and it's so amazing to be part of that moment for people. It's really cool.
What movie have you watched more times than any other?
Probably The Last Unicorn.
Nice.
Yeah.
Unicorn.
Yeah, because I'll put it on to fall asleep too if I have a song stuck in my head or something. Well, I have a thing. If I have a song stuck in my head and I can't go to sleep, I'll do the entire butterfly monologue in my head. Wave the black Lord Hudson High Boy, show them how we can. I am a roving gambler. How do you do?
The whole thing. That's impressive. Okay.
But sometimes I'll just put on the movie to fall asleep. That's probably it, because I've been watching that since I was a baby.
Tis a classic.
Yeah.
I was just talking about that was Legend. I was going to say I was just talking about an ugly one-horned mule with someone earlier the other day.
Yeah, I'm a huge Peter S. Beagle fan. I got to do I got to work with him on the 25th anniversary Last Unicorn tour.
Nice.
So it was, I got to go out get beer with him was so cool.
Awesome.
That was like
Awesome.
That's like all my autographs are basically Peter S. Beagle. So I'm like, sign this.
I'll take that one.
You're like that guy in was it Life Aquatic? And this one.
Yes.
And this one.
It's pretty fun.
And this one.
This one. And this one.
How many do you have?
I have a lot.
So other than possible connections with performing, what do you like about The Last Unicorn?
I mean, just because I've been watching it my entire life, it's just such a comfort movie for me. Right. I mean, and so it's beautiful, but it's scary. It's funny. Like it literally has everything. Like as a little girl, I could see Molly Grew and understand that one day I was going to be Molly Grew, wondering where my unicorn had been. Like I knew, like I identified with like every character in that movie. And I mean, I honestly really wish they would make another adaptation of it that's a little closer to the book. But, you know, until then.
I mean, I was thinking Mommy Fortuna. Who was Molly Grew?
Molly Grew is the one that's with Jack Jingley and the band of people who's just like, where have you been? Damn you!
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Where were you 20 years ago? 10 years ago? Where were you when I was new? Like, it's so every time I see that scene, I start crying. And I think it's just such a great journey movie. But our protagonist is so interesting in that she's kind of doesn't care that much about anything but finding the unicorns. Like she's just kind of dismissive through a lot of it. Because
but I mean, can you blame her? She's like thrust into this story. Like you're the special thing. She's like, I don't care. Where are the rest of my people? Yeah, and it's frustrating for her because most people can't even see her for what she is. Yeah.
Which is a great line too that Schmendrick says. It was like, it's a rare man to be seen for what he actually is. There are so many great lines in that. There are no happy endings because nothing ends. It's just, I think, a perfect film. And it's really short too. I mean, it was one of those great in the Rankin and Bass times, along with like The Hobbit and Flight of Dragons, that were just these kind of messed up but cute kid movies.
Yeah, you know, they're the wonderful movies that entertained and traumatized us all.
Absolutely,
all of us.
Thank goodness for them.
And taught us how to draw really very wrinkly, knuckly hands.
Yes, yes,
and faces.
Very true.
And faces.
Yep.
I mean, and plus, Last Unicorn has a booby tree. It's got
Oh my god, the fucking tree. That shit traumatized me as a kid. I was like, what is happening? Why is this person being suffocated in boobs? I thought boobs were good.
It's amazing.
Meanwhile, somebody else is like, yes, please.
Yeah. No, you really, that movie teaches you your kinks early.
It does indeed. It does indeed.
So if that is the movie you've watched more times than any other, is it also your favorite movie, or is there something else you would pick to be your favorite?
My favorite movie is True Romance.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like your taste. Another classic.
I was going to say maybe that was the one I had seen the most, but yeah, probably not. I love True Romance. I mean, honestly, for the same kind of reason. It's scary, it's funny, it's romantic, it's beautiful, it's offensive, it's, you know, it's everything. And my God, what an ensemble cast. No, I love everything about it. And it's one of those things where if I'm having a shit day, like my husband knows, just put on True Romance. And I'm like,
True Romance is your comfort zone.
Yeah.
I just love everything about it.
Do you see any common threads about what kinds of horror you like? Cannibalism, occult, metaphysical?
I mean, yeah, I like I said, I like body horror, even though it definitely gets to me.
It's effective.
It's effective, especially if it's like if it's a face thing. If you're like just pulling guts out of someone's belly, that's not.
Yeah, that's overdone at this point.
But that I like psychological horror. although it's kind of like hard to come by as far as if it's good or not. I do like culty stuff. I think that's really fun. It doesn't really scare me very much, but I do enjoy it. And I like a lot of those. I like these, what for years people were doing, the elevated horror, which is just, it's just regular horror. It's just we're getting deeper into the characters, I think.
Right? Elevated horror is basically well-written horror.
Yeah, exactly.
It has good characters and good writing.
Yeah,
okay, let's just a good story.
Like I loved, I love all of the A24s pretty much that have come out recently. Just really haven't been disappointed by one that I've seen.
Have you seen Beau is Afraid?
I haven't.
So good. It's disturbing.
See that one. Definitely want to see that. But I can watch Hereditary on a clip. Like, that's a really fun one for me. There's a lot of ones that are just like Mother. I can watch Mother over and over and over again. So I don't know if there's just a through. I'm pretty easy to please, honestly. I like most of it except for Halloween.
I've honestly never been a fan either. The originals, the remakes, that's good, but like, god damn, we need 12 movies of this shit. Yeah,
there were a couple things recently where I was like, okay, that was fine, but it was kind of nonplussed by. But
I like the third one. Actually, I really like the third one. I wish they would have stuck with a whole different thing every film.
Yeah. But
kids' faces melting into bugs and the third one, Season of the Witch.
Season of the Witch. I always hear that that's the good one.
So you mentioned not seeing a through line. I kind of see one actually, and this is about the spot where we would talk about some of this stuff. So let's jump to that.
Yeah.
Chaos.
Okay.
Derp.
Does it rain?
I do love that
movie. The question is that I've been trying to figure out is, so the other word that I had written down was joy and chaos. And I've been trying to figure out which one takes priority over the other. Is it that you find joy in chaos, or maybe like chaos and joy? It's hard to explain. So
I would definitely agree with that assessment.
Maybe both,
Yeah, maybe
joy and chaos and joy.
Chaotically joyful.
Yes. Yeah. That's
D&D character profile now.
Yeah.
Chaotic joyful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Trickster god.
Yeah, right.
No, that's Warhammer.
Well, that's many things.
Yeah, I think every fucking thing has their trickster god.
Yeah. And there's also something too about the maybe performance. The quote that you mentioned earlier about Tinkerbell, I need applause to live. But also, the devil napkin holder and gives fortunes that keep getting crazier and crazier. The thing about your dreams about, being chased by wolves potentially could be anxiety, but could also just be chaos. You mentioned even the day job you do, that you love working at the tattoo shop because of there being so many different reasons people get tattoos. Obviously, body horror has also been a big through line. Mm-hmm. Some of that can be chaotic, and as Chris used the word effective, maybe it's just because body horror is the most effective one for you to hit that note, shall we say? Mm-hmm. So, the difficult question is, like, normally we would then ask, why is this important to you? But it's hard to ask, why is chaos important to you? I guess we could ask the question. What do you think?
I never want to feel stagnated. Like, I like routine and stuff like that. But, say like anytime I'm writing a series, I always get just so bored because I'm like, I want to do something else. Like I want to play in many sandboxes, and not be like, just do one thing. So maybe that has something to do with it, and why I write in so many different genres and do different mediums, and because I just am a chaotic. Maybe that's how my brain is, very chaotic. and it's just bouncing around all the time. And it's just like, over here, over here, over here. Which is funny.
Nowadays they call that ADHD. Yeah, there it is. Yep.
I have never been diagnosed with that anyway, but
have you ever been tested?
Sure.
No, I don't know. But I like to play with different like settings and characters and plot lines, and we'll work on like 3 things at a time. That's just kind of always been the way I worked, but they're always very different things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I guess I do get a lot of joy out of chaos, because I'm not letting myself relax enough to feel sad.
Oh,
what happened?
I didn't even ask that question.
Puts it in a different perspective. It's not fun anymore. No, let's go back to the chaos fun.
Happy things.
That's hilarious, because like I wasn't even thinking about that at all. You're the one that came out with that.
I know.
And hilarious for me because I'm, nodding this whole time, like, yeah, same. Wait, same.
Oh.
Time to pull out the therapist couch.
Yeah, right.
So, do you want to talk about that for a while?
No, we're good.
I'm asking her.
I'm gonna write about that for a while.
Yeah, right. Oh man, so it's funny because so I said a second ago that's not even the direction I was thinking. So you were talking about chaos and multimedium and all this stuff, and my next question was going to be, so why horror? Because maybe you could explore chaos in other genres, but I guess the why horror question could fit in 2 ways, both the way that I just described, and also potentially for avoiding, not letting yourself stop to feel sad. Why horror for that too?
But I mean, also horror is the most versatile genre. It's such an umbrella genre for so many little subsets. So I mean, that way I can be creating an erotic horror blackout poem while I'm, writing a middle grade, kids horror book, and like they feel, different and, but they're still the same genre. I'm still like trying to achieve either, to terrify or to titillate or both.
It's an answer we've gotten before that horror is more versatile, or like that you can add. If you add horror to any other genre, the horror over encompasses the genre. It's now a horror rom-com or a horror comedy or a horror rom-com.
Which is
that's a thing too.
So much better.
Bodies.
Yeah.
I love horror comedies and like a horror zom rom-com.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like My Boyfriend's Back, which is a great 90s movie about a guy who gets turned into a zombie.
I'm remembering your dream that you described not too long ago.
Yeah.
Being hit on by a zombie.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a great metaphor for being a woman.
Yes. So I guess one thing I was thinking about when we were over the last couple seconds here is to go back to the thing about, not letting yourself stop to feel sad. There was a moment where I wondered like how far back that went. And what I mean by that is, depending on how young we're thinking, obviously there's potential something bad happening. But the other way to look at it is to say that, no, I've always been, this happy, chaotic child. And yes, things happen later in life. And I'm just like doubling down on who I really am. Because I think you had said earlier in the call, I've known who I am for a long time, and I've been okay with that.
Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that it's not,
both.
I think you're right. I think you're right that I have always been this way. That's true. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's because of some reason. I mean, as a kid, I was I was attention seeking, but I also felt very I don't know how to describe it. Like I would just sometimes just feel this incredible deep feeling,
Mhm.
like longing or like I was missing something, and I would like just scream.
Mm.
Just so like my parents would like run into my room and be like, "What's wrong?" You know?
Nothing. Just feel like screaming.
Yeah,
Bye.
right.
But you know, and sometimes I'd be like, I don't know. And I'd just be like, or I'd be really upset and be like, I don't know. So I think there was, you know, everybody's family is different. I think, like my husband, his parents fought all the time and didn't like each other. My parents didn't like each other, but didn't fight at all, really. They more just didn't interact.
Avoid.
Yeah. And that creates a different kind of, you know, environment. And, you know, I definitely, I looked to movies and books and stuff and, you know, wanted the relationships and the families that were in them. And then as I got older, I realized that they don't really exist. You know, that's not, you know, your family and your relationships are what they are and what you make of them. You know, nothing is perfect. And, you know, it's a lot harder than it looks, I think, to be in a family. My husband is awesome. I love our marriage and it's cool. It's when we have to deal with other people. But yeah, no, I think it probably has that chaotic joy has always been kind of a coping mechanism in a way.
That's,
you know,
kind of what I meant by the doubling down. It seems like it's almost like, okay, this is who I am, but it's also been useful because. Yeah,
it has. You know, I believe that. I think that who I am is loud and and talkative and all this stuff. And like, you know, people definitely in high school, I got, you know, made fun of and stuff like that. And at one point in my 20s, I was just like, fuck them. Like, I'm not going to change who I am. I am going to be loud and I'm going to talk about weird shit and I'm going to do weird shit. And, you know, if people don't like it, they don't have to be in my life. And luckily, I have a lot of friends that really do like it. And it turns out most authors are this way too. And some, you know, and artists are this way in some way or another, especially once you get to know them. So
it's kind of funny because at least, you know, from my own personal history, and I know this is also true for some other people, that, you know, there's this phrase called maladaptive behaviors, which describes, you know, when we're kids in the family that we grew up in, there's certain things that we learn to do to survive that when we then go out into the rest of the world and they become maladaptive because the things that we learned to cope in our family that were necessary for us to survive in our family don't always work in the real world. And then we try to, you know, it's when all you have is a hammer, everything starts to look like a nail, you know, so we're trying to use this hammer, it doesn't work. And then we have this situation where we need to learn other ways to live in order to now survive in the rest of the world. But it's funny because your situation is almost like, no, this actually works in the rest of the world too. Like, I'm good.
I mean, it wouldn't if I was like a banker or something.
Yes,
Yeah, true.
That's true. Yeah.
If I hadn't been like, you know, I'm just not going to have a regular, because, you know, I wrote full time for a while and then just had a bunch of gigs. I worked as a tour guide. I did creative writing instruction. Like I did Lego robotics, like, you know, just to make ends meet so I could write
another
full-time.
avenue of chaos.
Yeah, right. No, I've had like a million different jobs. You know, I've been a server, a stripper, a scientist. Like it's a lot.
All three at the same time?
No, but within a decade of each other.
Okay.
Within 5 years. So it probably wouldn't work if I was a professional sort, you know, quote unquote. But, you know,
your next Halloween costume.
Yeah, a professional sort. A businesswoman.
Yes.
Have a businesswoman's lunch.
I'm picturing you as Annie Lennox in Eurythmics video.
Yes. I have a... Yes. But it's worked well for me, especially because this business is so incredibly hard. Like I still get incredibly shy and clam up in front of other authors and stuff, because to me, everybody is a celebrity because I saw their name on a book. So, I get really flustered and stuff. And I know I was just at a thing at Vortex Books at Brian Keenan, Mary Sangiovanni's bookstore. And I was doing a signing with Chuck Wendig. And I'm just like, what is happening? What is happening right now? And like, I was so wanted to just retreat and be shy and all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, had to, like, girl, you need to wake up and take ownership. Like, this is your show, too. Like, you're here, you got here.
That's the funny thing about chaos is sometimes you find yourself in places that you didn't expect.
Right. Yeah. No, and it's wacky. And, even Brian Keene, he told me, he's like, you've gotten a lot better at coming out and, owning it and all that kind of stuff. Because before I would just like shrink into the back, which is just, that's not my way I want to be. Like, that's not my natural state. My natural state is to be smiley and happy. But I just get so intimidated by everybody.
Yeah. Can relate. You're an introverted extrovert that is plagued by both
period.
Anxiety and social butterflies.
And that's why I like to write at the bar, when I was at, so okay. I will be writing at the bar, or I'll be looking for a blackout poem. And, eventually people came up and they're like, we start talking and all that kind of stuff. And it's, it's good, but I put myself in the social situation and then I calm myself with the control of making the art, I guess.
Okay.
I'm picturing Chris at a bar with his drawing tablet.
I have actually done that. It wasn't a bar. It was, it was a stereotypical coffee shop. I'm writing a screenplay.
I made my blackout poetry at the bar, glitter and glue and all.
Nice.
Fitting. So is there anything that you've thought of earlier in the call that you didn't get to say? Anything that you think might be related that we didn't ask about?
Ooh.
It's a good question, right?
I don't think so. You had some really, really great questions, thought-provoking questions.
That is the goal.
That's right.
No, I can't really think of anything.
Okay. Shit. You know what? I just realized we forgot to give you the spot to talk about what you're currently working on at the start of the call. Good thing I remembered before we hit the closing.
Yeah.
So what are you currently working on?
I'm currently editing the third book in the Gardening Guidebooks trilogy from Ghoulish Books.
Okay.
It's called Witches in the Warren, and it's a 1982 rock horror novel.
Okay.
So it's a lot of fun. It's about a band that's the biggest band in the world, and they're filming a documentary while they're going on their next album tour. But they have some very interesting ways of surviving the tour. So, and it is connected to the other two books. So it's a big generational horror jam, and I'm writing all the songs for it. So
nice.
Oh, cool.
It's been a lot. I am also, I'm reworking a previously published novel. My stripper horror novel Pins is coming out from Madness Heart Press next year, which is so funny. Editing it has been just totally illuminating because it has definitely a very sapphic and bisexual kind of storyline to it. But when I wrote it, I had not come out as bisexual yet. And so now I'm re-editing it in this like new frame of mind, which has just it's been a really interesting experience. So I'm really excited to get it back out there with a fresh coat of polish, so to speak.
Very, very similar to reading your diary, as I'm sure.
Yeah. It's a really fun book. And then the next thing is I am working on a blackout poetry collection / play. 3-act play.
Okay.
It's called Feast, and it is inspired by Wuthering Heights. So it's erotic horror. I'm going to make all the big poetry pieces, but it also is going to double as a stage play.
Okay. And to clarify what I said a second ago, I didn't mean necessarily that the book was autobiographical.
It's got some stuff.
That's possible, but really what I was going towards was what you were saying about approaching it with like the frame of mind of where you are now and then looking back on the history. I was relating to, if I go back and read some of the stuff that I wrote in my journal, 20, 30 years ago, it's definitely interesting to go back and think about what I was thinking at that time and how it all came out and all that stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, there are definitely points when I'm just like, I can't believe that this got published. Like, just a couple of lines or something where I'm like, oh man, what? that's
yeah, you're always your own worst critic.
Yeah, true, but yeah.
She's like, yeah, but no.
Yeah, nah.
Yeah. Well, we very much appreciate your time. Thank you for sitting and chatting with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Our pleasure. Yeah. We are going to put together a bio page for you, and so we will link to whatever it is that you would like to link there. I'll get together with you offline to get that information. And to anybody out there listening, please do come check out Jess's page on our website, and you can probably link to her social media through there if you don't find her online. And like, share, and subscribe.